She thought she had it all: fame, luxury, and the power to judge anyone who didn't fit into her world. A VIP influencer with millions of followers, always surrounded by flashing cameras and fake compliments. She had no time for anyone who didn't match her high-class image. But everything changes the day she runs into someone she never expected to see again. Her ex-boyfriend, now homeless, sitting on a sidewalk she usually strolls past without a glance. What happened to him? Why did he disappear from her perfect life? And most importantly, why does something about his presence shake her more than any hate comment or scandal ever could? In the next few minutes, you're going to uncover a story that's not just about love lost, but about the brutal truth of ego, image, and what really defines human value. Stay with me, because I promise this isn't just another drama video. This is the moment she's forced to confront everything she thought she knew, and you're going to witness the shocking twist that makes her question everything, including herself. This story is about more than just a spoiled girl and a struggling man. It's about you and me, and how we sometimes measure worth by likes, money, or appearances, only to find out the real stuff, the stuff that lasts, is way deeper. And if you've ever judged someone too quickly, or been judged for what you don't have, this story is going to hit you harder than you expect. You clicked on this video for a reason, maybe out of curiosity, maybe because you're tired of fake people and fake lives. Either way, you're in the right place. I want you to feel this, not just watch it. Because by the end, you're going to get the answer you came here looking for, and maybe one you didn't even know you needed. So don't scroll away, don't hit skip. The moment everything flips is coming fast. And when it does, let's just say, the girl who thought she had it all, she's about to find out she had nothing. Not until she sees him. Keep watching, because the truth she's been running from is standing right in front of her, and it's wearing rags. She hadn't seen him in years, and yet there he was, sitting on that cracked city bench just a few feet from the luxury boutique she'd just walked out of. The cold breeze seemed to cut sharper around him, the worn jacket barely shielding his frame, the unshaven face marked with shadows of hardship. Her heart should have hardened. Her instinct was to turn away like she always did with people like him. People from a past she worked so hard to erase. But instead her feet froze. She could feel the weight of 1,000 whispered judgments from the onlookers passing by, the eyes of strangers sliding over him like he was invisible trash on the street. But in her mind, all she could hear was silence, an echo of memories she'd buried deep. This wasn't just any homeless man. This was her ex, not the polished, charming person he had once been, but someone cracked by time and circumstance, beaten down by life's unrelenting pressure. The truth was, she never truly knew him before. Back then, she was caught up in the glow of her own rising fame, the glitter of the VIP lifestyle that demanded perfection, status, and power. He was the one who had loved her before the spotlight found her, before the luxury cars and designer clothes became her armor. And now, standing there, he was a walking question she wasn't sure she wanted to answer. As she looked closer, she realized something else. There was a flicker in his eyes, something that told a story she hadn't heard yet. Not just defeat or sorrow, but a quiet strength, a spark of dignity that hadn't been snuffed out. And suddenly, everything she believed about worth, success, and respect felt fragile and shallow. She found herself wondering, what if everything she thought defined her value was just a mirage? What made this moment even more intense was that the world she lived in, the world of social media, endless scrolling, and viral moments, was about to collide with the gritty reality she tried so desperately to avoid. She knew that the cameras, the followers, and the flashing likes were all illusions that could vanish overnight. But what was real? What was the true measure of a person? The answer wasn't simple, and it wasn't going to come easily. But one thing was clear. This unexpected reunion was about to change both their lives forever. Behind the glitz and glamour, her days were a whirlwind of photo shoots, brand deals, and carefully curated posts. Every smile was rehearsed, every outfit meticulously chosen, every word calculated to keep the image perfect. Yet inside her, a quiet loneliness gnawed at her soul. She was surrounded by people, but so often felt completely alone. The superficial friendships, the constant pressure. To be better, richer, more flawless, it was exhausting. And this homeless man, this figure from a forgotten past, suddenly became a mirror reflecting everything she was trying to hide. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, a small community was quietly struggling to survive. People whose lives were stories of resilience and heartbreak that the VIP world never cared to notice. Among them were faces with dreams as big as hers once was, dreams buried beneath layers of judgment and poverty. This intersection of two very different worlds was about to unravel in ways no one could predict. And the deeper she got drawn into his world, the more she realized that worth wasn't about followers or fame, but about something far more human: connection, compassion, and truth. But just as she took tentative steps toward understanding, there were whispers, rumors swirling around her social media accounts, suspicious eyes watching her every move, and a powerful circle of influencers and sponsors who wouldn't stand for anything that threatened the perfect image they'd helped build. There was a tension rising, not just in her personal life, but in a broader story about privilege, judgment, and the invisible barriers society builds between us and them. Would she be brave enough to face it? Or would the fear of losing everything push her back into the safety of ignorance? And her ex. Beneath his weathered exterior was a man with secrets, a journey filled with heartbreak and choices that brought him to this point. But he was not just a victim. There was fire beneath the ashes, a determination to reclaim his dignity in a world that often forgets the homeless are human. His story, like hers, was tangled with pain, regret, and hope, and as their paths crossed again, neither could deny the pull of what once was and what might still be. There were also others watching, people from both their pasts and presents, friends, who had taken different roads, strangers with their own hidden agendas, and a mysterious figure whose motives seemed dark and uncertain. This wasn't just a simple reunion. It was the beginning of a story with many layers, where every choice could tip the balance between redemption and ruin. And so, the question remains, when the masks come off, when the likes stop counting, and when the world's harshest truths stare you in the face, what will you hold on to? What is true worth? This story is far from over. In fact, it's just getting started. And if you thought you knew how it would end, think again. Because sometimes, the people you think have nothing are the ones who hold the most. Days passed, but the image of him on that cold bench haunted her mind like a shadow she couldn't shake. Every moment she spent scrolling through her carefully manicured social feeds felt more hollow, more like an act designed to distract her from the truth she was desperately avoiding. The contrast between the filtered perfection she broadcasted and the raw reality of his existence pulled at something deep inside her, a mix of guilt, curiosity, and something she wasn't ready to name. But the biggest surprise came when she finally reached out, hesitantly at first, offering a simple cup of coffee on a chilly afternoon. That moment cracked open a floodgate of memories and secrets she had buried under layers of luxury and self-importance. What she didn't expect was how complicated his story had become. The man who once shared dreams with her had been swallowed by a system that was cold, indifferent, and unforgiving. Yet in the cracks of his broken world, she found glimpses of the man she once knew, a man who still believed in kindness and second chances. But the deeper she dug, the more tangled everything got. It turned out his fall wasn't just bad luck or a single mistake. There were hidden betrayals, dangerous enemies, and an underground world of people desperate to survive. At any cost. Suddenly, she was caught between two worlds and neither felt safe. At the same time, her social media empire was beginning to crack under pressure she hadn't anticipated. Followers noticed the shift. The raw, unfiltered moments she shared with him sparked both outrage and fascination. Some called her a hypocrite. Others admired her newfound courage. But sponsors, wary of controversy, began pulling their deals quietly, and the carefully built walls around her lifestyle threatened to crumble. Behind the scenes, powerful figures in the influencer world whispered threats and warnings, eager to keep the status quo intact. It became clear that her journey into his world was stirring up forces much larger than either of them. One evening, as they sat together in a small shelter far from the city's glamorous lights, she noticed something strange. He carried a small, worn notebook, filled with cryptic notes and sketches that didn't seem to match his current life on the streets. When she asked about it, his eyes darkened and the story spilled out in fragments, an untold tale of injustice, lost fortune, and a fight against corruption that had cost him everything. There were names whispered in fear, secrets about people in power who would do anything to keep those truths hidden. Suddenly, the homeless man was no longer just her past love or a victim of circumstance. He was a man on a mission, and by standing with him, she had become part of that mission too. Meanwhile, a subplot unfolded that neither of them could escape. A mysterious figure from her past resurfaced, someone who had once been a close friend, but now seemed bent on sabotaging her at every turn. This person's motivations were unclear, but the stakes were personal and dangerous. Their interference brought tension and fear into her life, as messages, threats, and leaked stories began circulating online, threatening to destroy everything she'd worked for. The line between friend and foe blurred, forcing her to question who she could truly trust in a world obsessed with image and power. All the while, the homeless community that had once seemed invisible began to reveal their own stories, weaving a rich tapestry of resilience, hope, and heartbreak that challenged everything she thought she knew. She met people who had lost everything but refused to give up, activists fighting to change a broken system, and everyday heroes whose kindness defied the cruelty of the streets. This growing network became both a sanctuary and a battleground, as her presence drew attention, both good and bad, and raised questions about privilege, responsibility, and redemption. Just as the tension reached a boiling point, the biggest twist hit. An unexpected revelation turned the story upside down. Someone she trusted had been secretly connected to the very forces that destroyed his life. The betrayal cut deep, shaking the fragile trust between them and forcing her to confront a painful truth about her own complicity in a system that valued appearance over humanity. It was a moment of reckoning, where past sins collided with present consequences, and the path forward became more uncertain than ever. The stakes were no longer just about two people reconnecting. They were about fighting for justice, challenging a corrupt world, and finding real worth in a place where so much had been lost. Every decision mattered, every alliance was fragile, and the pressure to choose sides was crushing. As the story hurtled toward its climax, questions about identity, loyalty, and courage loomed large, making it clear that the final act would demand everything they had, and more. And just when it seemed the darkness might swallow them whole, a glimmer of hope flickered on the horizon, promising a chance at redemption. But only if they could survive the storm that was coming. The days that followed felt like the turning point they had both been waiting for, though neither dared to say it aloud. The fragile trust that had been shattered was slowly being rebuilt, not with grand gestures, but with quiet moments of vulnerability, shared silence, and the steady realization that the past could no longer dictate the future. The homeless man's notebook, once a secret burden, became a roadmap to truth and justice, filled with names, dates, and evidence of a system corrupted by greed and prejudice. Together, they began piecing together a plan, one that would expose the tangled web of lies and betrayal, and force the powerful to answer for the damage they had caused. At the same time, her own world was shifting in ways she hadn't expected. The influencer facade she had clung to was cracking, but beneath the surface something more real was taking shape, a sense of purpose and authenticity that resonated with people far beyond her usual audience. Comments poured in from strangers, who shared their own stories of hardship and hope, creating a community built not on perfection, but on resilience and honesty. It was as if the universe was telling her that real worth wasn't measured by followers or likes, but by the courage to face the truth and stand for what was right. The tension ratcheted higher when the mysterious figure from her past reemerged, no longer just a shadow, but an active force seeking to derail their efforts. Their attempts to sabotage her project and discredit the homeless man escalated, with leaked information, threatening messages, and even public smear campaigns designed to keep the truth buried. But with each attack, their resolve only grew stronger. The stakes were no longer personal. They had become part of something bigger, a fight for justice and dignity that touched countless lives on the margins. One night, under the dim glow of a street lamp, they met with a whistleblower, someone who had worked inside the corrupt system and was willing to risk everything to come forward. The information revealed was explosive, uncovering a network of power brokers who profited from keeping people like him invisible and powerless. It was a moment of reckoning that set in motion a chain of events neither of them could have predicted. As the news spread, public outrage surged, forcing authorities to take notice and igniting a movement that demanded change. The climax unfolded with the homeless man confronting his past enemies in a tense, public showdown that was part courtroom battle, part street protest. His courage inspired others to speak out, and the story that had once been his burden became a beacon of hope for many. The woman stood by his side, no longer the aloof VIP girl, but a fierce ally who had learned what true worth really was. Not from wealth or status, but from integrity, compassion, and the power to stand up against injustice. Just when it seemed the story had reached its resolution, the final twist revealed itself. The woman discovered that the mysterious saboteur was someone she had trusted deeply, someone whose motives were far more complicated than simple jealousy or greed. They had been manipulated too, trapped in a web of secrets and lies spun by the very system they all sought to dismantle. This revelation brought a new layer of complexity, reminding everyone that redemption and forgiveness were part of the journey, even for those who had caused pain. In the end, the homeless man found a new home, not just in a physical shelter, but in a community that valued him for who he was, not what he had lost. The woman transformed her platform into a voice for change, using her influence to shine light on forgotten stories and uplift those society often ignored. Their journey together became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the profound truth that worth is not defined by external circumstances, but by the courage to face life's challenges with honesty and heart. As the dust settled, the lessons lingered, reminding every viewer that beneath the surface of every person lies a story worth knowing, and that true strength comes from empathy, connection, and the willingness to stand for what's right, even when it's hard. This is more than a story about change. It's a call to action for anyone who has ever felt unseen, unheard, or undervalued. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of inner strength and resilience. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never forget your worth.